Hello everyone, I'm Claire Huddleston. Thanks for joining us. Today, freshmen began moving into dorms at the University of Alabama, and by the end of the weekend, more than 2,000 students will call UA home. But with unfamiliar territory comes potential hidden dangers. WVUA's Daniel Sparkman shows us how freshmen can stay safe during their time at the capstone.
At the end of the day, more than 400 freshmen had moved into Tutwiler Hall, all looking forward to starting a new chapter in their lives. During this time of getting settled in, there are a few things Interim Housing Director Alicia Brown says students need to keep in mind.
Students here for the first time, very excited to be here, are not necessarily getting enough sleep, eating healthy. That's something to keep in mind. Being aware that this is a pretty stressful time are all really important to keeping healthy.
Another part of keeping healthy is watching out for your safety. Brown says the first rule is to always lock your door.
Sometimes students think they're just running down the hall to the restroom or they're going across the hall to talk to a friend, and they may not think to lock their door, but it's the #1 thing they can do to protect themselves, their roommates, and their belongings. Carry your key every time you leave, lock your door every time you leave the room.
Never to leave the dorm without another person. It's better to be 2 or more. I think groups are definitely better. And don't get into cars with people you don't know, and stay away from boys. That's just basically the whole thing.
This mother of an incoming freshman advised her daughter to stay away from boys, but she says most importantly, always be yourself and don't get lost trying to fit in.
I have told her that, there's a lot of peer pressure, and to be her own person and to stay independent like she's always been, and not to get into the whole drinking, and it's all about, getting into this group and that group, and just to, she'll figure out who her true friends are.
Wolf and her daughter drove 15 hours from Maryland for move-in day. She says it's hard to let her daughter go, but she's excited about this new chapter in their lives. In Tuscaloosa, Daniel Sparkman, WVUA News.
Early move-in continues tomorrow for students involved in band, sorority recruitment, and special programs. Move-in day at the capstone was a little easier for some families thanks to volunteers from Calvary Baptist Church. More than a dozen members from Calvary's congregation stepped in to provide support for UA's housing staff as they welcomed freshman students to campus. The volunteers unloaded cars, took belongings to students' dorms, and even passed out water to parents. Pastor Tim Lovett says it's meant to welcome parents and students to the community.
We're part of this community. Calvary's been here for 100 years. And so whatever we can do to help enhance people's view of the university, that's the community that we're in. And so that we're all about serving the community.
Last year, Calvary Volunteers helped for a half day. This year, they were asked to come back and volunteer for 2 days. With schools starting back, high school football is just around the corner. This week, Alabama Governor Robert Bentley signed a new law aimed at preventing sports-related concussions. WVUA's Bradley Whittington shows us how local high schools are taking precautions to protect their players.
Although the new concussion law was signed on Thursday, Hillcrest High football coach Adam Weingarten says there's nothing new about it.
As coaches, we're required to take a concussion course, which we took. Our staff took it last year. So the law to our staff is really to the state in general, this is not a new thing because we did the same thing last year.
Central High football coach Dennis Connors says it's important to teach the players how concussions can affect you later in life.
Over the past 4 or 5 years, we've seen a lot of NFL players that it has contributed to their death. And so now it's anything that happened in the NFL, it trickled down to the college, and then from the college, it trickled down to the high school, and from high school, it definitely going to trickle down to the little leagues.
But how do you know if a player is showing signs of a concussion?
Dizziness, nausea, kids being incoherent, not responding to your questions. I think the thing that makes it tough is that those symptoms can be related to things other than concussions as well. And I think that's why it's important that you let your team physician that's on the sideline determine if it's truly a concussion or if it's just related to maybe sickness or something else.
With football being such a heavy contact sport, teaching players how to hit and tackle properly is the key to being safe. I probably need a little more practice.
We do not lead with our head on with no tackling drills. That we don't teach that, we don't show that. You always attack with the shoulder.
The 2011-2012 high school football season kicks off on Friday, August 26th. Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Bradley Whittington, WVUA News.
I'm glad Bradley's okay. Well, under the new law, coaches must bench any athlete suspected of having a concussion. The player can't return until he or she is cleared by a physician. On your Home Team Crime Watch, police are trying to find the person who stole bleachers from a Tuscaloosa YMCA. Maintenance workers at the Benjamin Barnes YMCA made the shocking discovery this morning. They found a damaged set of bleachers and another set missing. Police aren't sure how the thief made off with the bleachers, but they're pretty sure the suspect took them for aluminum. Officials say the bleachers are worth $5,000. This is the second time in 2 years someone has stolen the YMCA's bleachers.
This is important because this is where the teams sit out here when they are not playing.
We've actually met with our local councilman, Harrison Taylor. Coach Cunningham initiated that contact just to help us to look for pricing and where we can find funding to maybe pay for some surveillance here at the Barnes Branch YMCA.
There are a couple of ways you can help. First, if you have information about the crime, call Crime Stoppers at 205-752-STOP. Second, if you would like more information about how you can help the YMCA, call 205-759-4284. Time for a first look at Alabama's home team forecast. Here's Chief Meteorologist Richard Scott.
Hey Claire, good Friday night to you. Shower storms hard to find today. Cooler air mass over the state of Alabama. Some stable air due to the morning clouds. One lone thunderstorm popped up over parts of Sumter County and Greene County this afternoon. That storm has since fizzled out. More storms back towards Memphis, Tennessee. In fact, these are severe storms moving southeast, but they are weakening. And that is good news. We're losing that afternoon heating, so showers and storms should dissipate to our northwest tonight. Chance of rain over the weekend, 40% on Saturday, 30% on Sunday. What about the rest of the forecast? The cool down's on the way. Plus, we got all kinds of mess happening out of the tropics. I've got your full forecast coming up in home team weather.
Tuscaloosa's tornado death toll is growing again. According to the mayor's office, there are 3 more people have been added to the list, bringing the total to 50. Authorities say all 3 people were at the La Rocca nursing home when the storm hit. Their names are 98-year-old Helen Worm, who died May 9th, 78-year-old Colvin Corky Rice, who died May 13th, and 81-year-old Ovella P. Andrews, who died June 5th. Officials say after talking with the victims' family members, they determined the deaths could be blamed on the storm. Tuscaloosa Mayor Walt Maddox says the tornado really impacted the elderly.
As we've known from the very beginning, one of the most hard-hit areas, or excuse me, hard-hit demographics that would be hit would be our senior citizens. And I think you've seen that in the last 6 names that have been released because the impact of this tornado is long-lasting. And I think that's pretty evident.
If you are interested in protecting yourself from tornadoes in the future, building a safe room for your home is very effective. There is a grant you can apply for that will pay for 75% of the building cost for the safe room. However, the deadline to turn in your application is next Tuesday, August 16th. You can learn more at the Tuscaloosa Ford website. For a shortcut, just go to WVUATV.com and click numbers and links. Tuscaloosa County school leaders are saying thank you for all the help they received following the tornado. School leaders met at Lloydwood Middle School this morning. They wanted to express their appreciation for all the donations and volunteers who helped students and staff recover from the storms.
No matter how big or how small, just the thought, the kindness, the expression of their support for this school and our students in the Holt Elementary area, the Holt school zone, all the schools, as a result of that devastation. That's just an outpouring of the caring spirit.
You can make a donation to help storm survivors at the Tuscaloosa Ford website. For a shortcut, go to WVUATV.com, click numbers and links. Congressman Robert Aderholt toured Tuscaloosa's tornado damage today. He, along with Tuscaloosa Mayor Walt Maddox, drove through some of the hardest hit areas of town to get a sense of how the recovery effort is going. The congressman, who will represent part of Tuscaloosa County beginning in 2013, says he's devoted to making sure Alabama is a better place than it was before the storms. Aderholt was in Tuscaloosa April 28th and says the improvements from then until now are encouraging.
People are going to be coming back. They're going to be building stronger, give them the reason to expand. You know, I think it's one of those classic situations where you take lemons and make lemonade.
Aderholt also told us Congress has approved an additional $1 billion to be added to the Federal Disaster Relief Fund. Aderholt was back in Alabama today so he could attend a Republican fundraising dinner in Birmingham tonight. Texas Governor Rick Perry was the keynote speaker. Before the dinner, Perry met with Alabama Governor Robert Bentley and other state legislators. At the dinner, Perry talked about his belief in conservative leadership and what he believes will save our economy.
I pledge allegiance.
If we want to stimulate the economy, we need to take Washington's hands off of 1/6 of that GDP, which is the healthcare industry. We need less government regulation, less government spending. We need to unleash the power of the private sector in this country.
An aide to Governor Perry says tomorrow Perry plans to announce his intention to run for the 2012 presidential election. After spending a year in Afghanistan, some Alabama soldiers have finally come home. Over 150 National Guards were greeted by their loved ones today. The 900th Component Repair Company was on a transportation and securities missions overseas. When they arrived in Alabama, they went to the Pike County High School Stadium, where people crowded in the bleachers to show their thanks and give the troops a warm welcome home.